All right, so in the past, I've done some things that I've called shop shorts. This video is a random shop talk. What's the difference? Well, in the shop shorts, I typically have something that I would like to teach you or convey to you. In a shop talk, I don't. I want to share some things with you, but nothing really to teach. A couple things have been going on. If you're active over in the chat of mygrowthrings.com, you may know that I'm in the middle of a 13-week long stretch of training and activities, including travel for my work, which is making it very difficult to spend any time in my shop. And so I'm going to have some brief moments, and I'm not sure how I'll be able to take advantage of them. But in this one, I want to share with you a couple things that have kind of been left unfinished, and also to share with some of you some things you might find interesting. First one, at the tail end of one of my recent videos, I showed how I plugged in this power meter to see exactly how much power my Shopsmith is drawing through an automatic switch that turns on my dust collector. And I knew that when you turn on the Shopsmith, because it has a 15 amp motor, that during the initial startup, it's actually drawing more than 15 amps. And I was hoping that there's enough delay between turning the Shopsmith on and then my automatic switch turning on the dust collector that I wouldn't have too high of a spike. Well, what this showed me is I bought too cheap of a power meter because I didn't break it, but it went far above what this thing is rated for. So in the interest of science, I've purchased another one. This one's digital. I guess that one was kind of digital. This one will also link up to my phone through an app. But more importantly, this one is rated for 25 amps. And I believe, fingers crossed, that this one will do the job that I'm hoping for it to do, which is I'd like to keep track of runtime. I'd like to keep track of the energy that I'm consuming. And also, I'm very curious to know exactly how much amperage and power everything is drawing as I perform various functions in the shop. So there's the follow-up. I'm going to start using this, and I'll let you know how that turns out. Also, I made that little nibbler video. In fact, I used the nibbler, and then I used the nibbler mounted to a table. And the problem I ran into was this little adapter I made for the collet. Now, I can't begin to tell you how many people have said, why aren't you just using the 1/4-inch router chuck? Great question, and that would make a lot of sense if a 1/4-inch hex shank tool would fit into a 1/4-inch hole. It doesn't. A 1/4-inch hex is measured from one parallel face to the other, and that would fit if there weren't corners on a hex, exactly 6 corners. So because of that, I 3D printed a little adapter that fit into my 1/2-inch Shopsmith collet, and that's where we left it. We left it in that was kind of sort of a fail because I just used the cheapest plastic I could get, which is PLA. It's the stuff I print almost everything from. What I haven't yet tested is PETG, which is a stronger plastic. But I've also purchased some plastic filament that contains carbon fiber, and that's probably going to be the winner, but I haven't had a chance to test it. So I will report back however this turns out. A couple things that I have been able to print recently that I found interesting. I found, and these are prints that you can just go and download for free. If you own a 3D printer or have access to a 3D printer, maybe a neighbor or a loved one has a 3D printer. Some people have said their local libraries have 3D printers. Well, you can download files from a number of websites for free, take those files on a flash drive to the library, and then have them printed. This is kind of sort of a file that I downloaded to print some holders for speed squares, like a Swanson speed square. Now, I use these at my work. I use these at my work all the time. I run an academy for salespeople, customer service people, sometimes customers, to learn how to install cabinet hardware that my employer manufactures and sells. And so we find this to be a very handy tool, but how do you store these darn things? And so I printed off from the internet this little holder. Well, I ran into a problem with this. You can see this is how it holds the squares. Just screw it or double-side tape that to the bottom of a shelf, and then you got storage. I didn't realize until I printed it, though, that it was made to hold wooden squares, metal speed squares, not plastic speed squares. So you see that one doesn't fit. So I had to do some modification to the file in some software that's called a slicer. It takes the file that you're uploading and it slices it into layers, because the 3D printer is printing just layer upon layer. It prints like any printer would print onto paper, only instead of printing with ink, it prints with plastic, and it prints layer by layer by layer. So I took that print that had 2 of these slots that were made for the plastic square, 2 slots that were made for a metal square. I cut it in half, deleted the half that had the small size, duplicated it, mirrored it, and then seamed them together. And you can see there's a seam there between them. And in the first run, I didn't do well because I overlapped them wrong, and that created the tight spot. So since then, I've printed several of these for my work that will work with just the plastic squares. Somehow or another, I guess I can share that file if you're interested. I can link to the original file, which I think I got at makerworld.com, but somehow I'll share probably over at mygrowthrings.com maybe. I don't know. Can I share an STL file? Have we already established whether we can do that or not? But basically I reworked the file that was available for free. Now the thing about most of those files is you can print them for yourself, but not for commercial use. So I can't sell these to you, but if you designed it from scratch, you certainly could print and sell these. Now something else that I've printed recently, back to this. This is an old Shopsmith toolbox. It's actually 3 toolboxes that are stacked together. I've decided to make some labels, and rather than printing them and sticking them on the machine, I 3D printed them, and you can see that that's got some thickness to it. And the file that I used was made for use with magnets. You could glue rare earth magnets into the back of these and stick them to your toolbox. I'm sticking them to the aluminum handle, so they don't stick too well with magnets. So these will be installed with double-sided tape. Here you can see an even longer one. So a bunch of miscellaneous Shopsmith items that I use every day. I'm going to have a drawer specifically for spindle turning. I've got one for datoing. I think for now I'm going to put all my shaper and molder things together, but that may turn out to be a mistake. I may need to have 2 drawers dedicated to that. Anyway, that's going to be entirely Shopsmith accessories, and that's why I'm doing that. That was such a cool piece of software, again, through MakerWorld. That particular file has what they call a parametric, or it is a parametric file. Whenever you see that, that means you can make a change to it, and they've made it easy to make a change to it right there on the website. So all I had to do was to pull it up and type out the things that I wanted to print. It then created the file I was able to download and print. I started printing some labels for some of those Harbor Freight bins, the ones that I forget what is the German brand that they copied. You probably remember the one. Adam Savage did several videos where he used these parts organizer bins, and I have some of the ones from Harbor Freight. I actually have a whole bunch of the ones that Home Depot was selling as HDX brand, is that right? But they're not going to work the way I want them to work, and that is I'd like to build a rack with some drawer slides that I can pull them in and out. And so I kind of have to start over. Anyway, at work, we have a whole bunch of those bins, and I've printed labels for work, and I just love them. Now, for those at work, The big tall ones, there was plenty of room to stick the label. On the short ones, there wasn't. And so after scratching my head a little bit, I realized if I could print them with a slight radius, I could then attach them to the handle. And then I thought, hey, wait a second. My first batch of these, I had a problem with the way I split them, and that was they printed with an ever so slight kind of a gull wing shape to them. And I fixed that by flipping them over, hitting them with a heat gun, and then laying them on a flat surface. So I have since taken these labels, I've heated them up, and then laid them on top of one of the handles, taped them down so that they would lay nice and flat. And they came out perfect. So yeah, the plastic will melt in a 3D printer, but they can also melt with a heat gun. So what a wonderful solution. If you don't have something ferrous that you can stick magnets on, you could use a double-sided tape or even epoxy to glue these on. Something else that I've printed recently that may not be very exciting to you, but I like it a lot, and that is I've printed a phone holder for my tripod. This phone holder will attach to any 1/4-20 mount, which is common. All your cameras and laser levels and things have a 1/4-20 mount on the bottom. And this allows me to clamp my phone in place. I've had many, many spring-loaded ones in the past that can sometimes work and sometimes not. It gets a little fidgety because of all the switches on the sides of phones. And I wind up having to slide the phone off center, and then that makes it unlevel, which is a whole thing. This clamps nice and firm and holds it all in place. I printed that for pennies, which to me is just amazing. Another thing I shared recently with a group from the mygrowthrings.com website has to do with this label right here. And that is upcoming soon, we'll do a video on the use of the Shopsmith molder. In the meantime, another YouTuber, Stephen Draper, has covered an alternative to the Shopsmith molder, since today Shopsmith doesn't sell a molding head. We can still get the old original Shopsmith and Magna molder heads, and all the knives, you can buy them on eBay and through other places used. But if you want a brand new set and you want to make sure that the knives are a perfect match for the cutter head, Korob is the manufacturer today where you can purchase those. I'll link to them, and I'll link to Stephen Draper's videos where he's talking about using the molder. So until I post something, I definitely encourage you to check out Stephen. I have a few differing views on the molder head, and that's okay. We'll share that. My opinions are my opinions, not necessarily right. We'll see when we get to it. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. Things going fine in your neck of the woods. We've been having lots of thunderstorms, but it is summer in North Carolina, and that's how things work here. Who cares? Make it a great day.